These are the people who need the most attention. I never take a rest until I know that they find some happiness, Lord. If I could, I want to help somebody. I cannot let my people perish, Lord. That's my request. Help me to help somebody. It's not easy when you ain't got that money. You have no way to sleep and you got nothing to eat. Lord, oh Lord, I want to help some.
Good morning, Inspector. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Dupree, and good morning to all the listeners of Real FM. I'm so happy to be with you this morning, and we will learn from each other.
Thank you. And then my other guest, who is also my sidekick, my partner, we work at the same department, and, most times she's on the side of the studio, passing me a little note and everything, so she like a producer, making sure everything go ahead. If I miss something, she pass it to me. So I said this morning, she need to be behind the mic too. I'm not going to hide her any longer. So good morning, Miss Mitchell. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Corporal Dupree, and good morning to the listeners of Real FM. I'm doing very good today, and I'm happy to be here.
All right. So it's a pleasure to be here. And thanks very much for all the listeners who are tuning in this morning with this program on youth violence. So, Inspector Nelson, I'm going to start off with you because I know that you are someone that are really versed in this area of youth violence. You are very much experienced police officer. You have been in the force for a pretty long time, and you have worked in community relation department for a pretty long time. You are very much active in your church with young persons in your community, in the church, and I know in the RGPF. So you are no stranger to this topic or these challenges or whatever is happening. So I'm just going to ask you to open up in that. What are your take on the issue of youth violence in Grenada? Just generally, what have you been seeing, or what have you been seeing happening in terms of our young people and the behavior, and they resorting to violent method to resolve their issues?
Mm-hmm. What I can say, Dupree, what I'm seeing as an individual, as a police officer, it frightens me. It gives me great concern for the future. Yes? However, before I get into the main discussion, I just want us to establish what is really youth violence.
Okay.
Yeah? And based on your there are many definitions. So I will just hasten to give you one. Intentional use of physical force. Intentional use of physical force, or the power to threaten others to do them some harm. Yes, and or harming other young people. That includes fighting, bullying, threatening with weapons, and gang-related issues. And this by itself creates an ugly picture of youth violence. So that's why I'm very concerned about the future. And in a Grenadian context, Dupree, I am driving around Grenada today, and almost in every community, I see young men in the prime to make contribution to society missing a limb, missing this, chop wounds on their body, and they cannot be productive as much as they would have if they had the two hands. And most of them are missing one. And that frightens me. And the thing about it, the whole idea of gang violence, even if we have those experiences and we have real cases around us, our young people are not looking at this and learn from it and change behavior. However, there are not many, there are just a few, yes, but they create a world of chaos in our community. And that's my concern.
All right, and very interesting, right? Because I observe a lot of the same thing that you do. We're not living in isolation. I mean, unless maybe we living on another planet or a rock out of Earth, most of us would be aware of what is happening with the young persons within our community, right? So, Ms. Mitchell, and I know, you work in my office, and we work together, and I know a lot of times we have to respond to a lot of incidents of youth violence, reports involving young persons getting in conflict and confrontation with other persons. I think our office kind of at the forefront of dealing with that. What can you tell us you believe, or based on your experience and based on the reports we've been having, that is some of the causes of this level of youth violence that we have in our community? What do you think what are some of the causes?
Thank you, Corporal. As our inspector rightfully reiterated to us what youth violence is all about, that he mentioned one of the aspects. In Community Relation Department, when the reports come to us and stuff like that, you realize that some of the children, you can tell that they are frustrated. I think that is one of the issue. Maybe they don't know how to cope with problems and different things. And I strongly believe that is one of the reasons, even maybe peer pressure, and even I should believe domestic violence in the home can be an aspect of that, Corporal, because it spills out. Even what I would say exactly is that at home, parents, what children learn at home is a reflection of their parents. And most of the homes I realize that there are issues, most so domestic issues. So it spills off on the children. Right. And when they come out in society, in the school, different places where they are, they resort to what they know. Right? So I believe that is one of the issues that we look at, and it is very troubling. As our,
definitely, because the home, as I said, is the foundation, and if that foundation is not solid, then you're going to have problem way through, right? Exactly. Inspector Nelson.
And just allow me to add to the discussion, and Ms. Mitchell focus on the home. I just want to look at a very important piece of tool in our homes that, if used properly, can be very useful, beneficial to us, the gadgets that we have. And children are allowed to use this unsupervised, and the content at which they look at can also cause them to get involved in such acts like youth violence, because that's their focus. And with the easy access of those material, even us trying to reach them is difficult, because we hear once per week, yes, the parents may inject a little thing once, but they gadget with them all the time. And the content at which they listen to the music, the videos, they are consumed by this. And it's a huge challenge for parents.
Yes, sir, it is indeed.
Definitely. And we cannot overemphasize the important role that the the social media plays in the lives of our young persons. The music that they listen, right? You have a huge influence on them. Find a lot of young people, if you listen to a lot of the music young people like, it encourages a lot of violence. It's about violence, glorification of violence. And those are the things that get into the minds of these young persons, and they try to practice it. They try to show up that they are part of it. And instead of finding amicable, traditional ways of resolving problem, which is talking it over, having these discussions and so on, then they feel that they have to hold on to the tough. This false illusion that you cannot disrespect me. If someone says something that about me or about my family, my mother that I don't like, or about my partner, my boy or my dog, as it is called them, they don't like, then they have to take some action, right? And this is very much dangerous. Yes, Inspector.
And I learned recently, and you can also do your research and see whether or not I'm speaking the truth this morning. That I learned that persons who sing those songs, yes, who have children, their children don't listen to those songs.
A lot of them.
They're not allowed to.
Exactly.
Why? Because they know the dangers of listening to the content of those music. So the children have the best of tutors that evening. They have room filled with things for learning to lift them up in life. But our children are allowed to listen to this thing, and what is happening to them? Academically, they're declining.
Exactly.
And the violence
Exactly.
is on a high. And so we have to be careful at what we do. Because this thing, though they are there, is subtle, but the impact is great.
Exactly.
And we have to look at these things.
And we do, as you mentioned that, and you mentioned this artist and their own family. I remember the ever so popular Vibes Cartel interview some years ago when he was questioned about his influence on young people and how much young people look up to him and his music and so on. And he made it clear that he's nobody's child role model. His music is about his art and to his business and make money, and he never claimed to be anybody's role model. So he's not responsible for who want to hang on to his music and allow it to influence them and all this kind of thing. But this is whether he or they may feel that way or not, this is what actually is happening. That's why it's very important that parents need to take control of what happens into the lives of their children. We cannot just allow our children to be unsupervised, right? Or on this gadget, phone and tablet or whatever it may be, unsupervised on social media, and then being influenced. Because the reality is that, and we have to be clear about that, right? The schools have its role to play, and the schools are there for about 6 hours a day, right? The police are there, and we have our limited roles to play, and the parents are there, right? But outside of that, there are so much influence that these young people and them have, and sometimes it doesn't even match with the influence that they get from home and from school, right? So you have to be able as parents to make sure that your influence and your principle and your moral can match what they hear in somewhere else. But so many problems what we have is that so much of our parents don't even have that principle, don't have that morals. Some of them, even if they don't have the help to help them. So it's a huge challenge. So that comes to my next question, right? Before I move on, Ms. Michelle was trying to say something?
Yes, Corporal. I was thinking as you speak that we are looking at the parents for support and things like that. But I'm telling you, it is a huge challenge also with the children parents. So if we can look at some medium, because the insufficient supervision of parents is something that we have to consider, because we know most of the parents are out there and they don't have that time. They will not even look in the children's bag or really pay attention to what they look at, because with the social media, you can go through the history from time to time and look at what your children are looking at.
Some of them delete it.
Well, I mean, some of the parents may not have the ability, they may not even know how to log in, so we have to get ahead with our children. So this is something that I really wanted to speak on.
All right. So, next, let me ask Corporal, Inspector, sorry, because you're going. Because we know what is the problem, we recognize what is the problem. right? What I want, what I want to find, we're going to look at the solutions now. So as a community, what you think the community can do to help this young person? I know before the program we had a discussion here, we raised some important points about the community taking ownership and so on. So what do you think the community can do?
Dupree, I like the focus of your discussion. You start with the family, and it begins with the family, yes? And by extension, the community, because in time past, and I still believe it takes a community to raise a child. What happened in our present construct that the community, most community have no standard. They accept every and any behavior. And in time past, we could have depended on prominent persons in society. Today, I'm not sure that we have any prominent persons in society, because what happens, they should have influence, but they stand back. Once the violence is not directly involved in them or affecting them, they stay back. So you have somebody in the community with a deviant behavior, because it's not affecting us, we just let it, we accept it, and it just continue to fester in the community, and it spreads. And now we have what we have in our community, not just one, but many of our young boys and girls with this kind of behavior. And the community still fails to intervene because it doesn't affect them. And so my point is, if the community have some standard of behaviors that they don't accept,
Exactly.
and when it happens, they address it, not to go arrest somebody, and sometimes your involvement is just to point that child or somebody to intervene on the child's behalf,
Exactly.
to ensure that the little problem that you see don't escalate into a crisis later on. So when the community accepts it, we end up with what we have today.
Exactly.
And even with the parents, I just want to interject here. I'm appealing to parents and the community. Don't just look at this youth violence as just something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked earlier on, there's a cost to Dupree. Cost to the government, cost to families, cost to the community, cost to the individual. Yes? So you see the transport moving, the police transport moving up and down from violent scene to the next. That's a cost. Every piece of document that have to be written because of this, there's a cost. When you get to the hospital, every little piece of paper that the doctor writes, there's a cost. And now, by extension, it costs the family. Now, if that person were working, they can't work anymore, you have to nurse them, there's a cost to that. So you're losing finances, and you're not getting, because that child cannot work anymore, or that child cannot go to school, so the money you have for education, you have to spend it now on medical bills and legal bills and so forth. And the money that you have there for their advancement cannot be used for that. And you have to challenge it now towards that violent behavior. And it costs the family.
Exactly.
And now you have the community now in fear that violence can raise its ugly head at any time. Business may suffer. They may close early because of the violent behaviors. They may be frightened to open, and so the community suffer not getting the goods and services.
Exactly.
Because why? Not just the act, but sometimes the fear of it. And the community now is on what you say, a lockdown. And the entire community suffers. Why? Our children are behaving the way they do.
Exactly.
And we cannot continue to accept this kind of behavior. We need to take a stand and help those children.
And I really like that scenario you use, because I think it's important. Everything's boiled down to dollars and cents at some time, right? And maybe if this is what you have to use to get the attention of the policymakers, maybe that might have to, we may have to really lobby for that, because at the end, there's a cost. Youth violence have a cost. Violent crime committed by adults have a cost. Anything have a cost, because
any form of violence,
any type of violence, any type of violence have a cost. And what we realize is that we don't want to have a situation where the cost reacting to those types of violence is a overburden on our society, that it become unsustainable. So it is important now that we take action, right, to ensure that our young person find an alternative solution to violence. I always remember that proverb. A long time he haven't gotten still. He have his place that it takes a village, and I usually use that discussion all the time. Our system, in a way that where we deal with children, our whole children of a community, village, and it take a village kind of means like the whole village come together in imparting some form of discipline on a child to help that child to be the best of himself or herself. So I remember that, you know, growing up as a child, that if I do something wrong, my neighbor could correct me, right? And this would have played a very integral part in developing strong communities, strong leaders, strong young men and women, you know, who have become successful, you know, having this respect and so on. Because we know it's not only mommy eye that our daddy eye on us. We know that that nosy neighbor, whether you want to call him or her, that so eyes, and they're going to hold us accountable, right? And that have worked for us. Unfortunately, we allow our system to be so much, you know, influenced by outside source, right? That where it become less important for you to rely on our whole community to raise our children, right? And then we start getting into this type of situation that we have, right? And now, the same countries that influence us in this way, that allow us to go down that slope, are the countries that are realizing that was a mistake for them, and they're trying to adopt this It Takes a Village. Remember a couple of years ago when Hillary Clinton wrote that book, It Takes a Village? That come out from us, from Africa, bring down here. We knew that long, right? Now they see the importance of it, and we get away. So it is important we need to get back. We could sit down and talk about all what is happening and all what we should be doing, and blame politicians and everybody else. But there are some fundamental things that we have to look into. We have to get back to it. We can't escape what it is.
Yes, and Duper, I mentioned earlier I have concern about our future. My retirement days, I want to be able to retire and sit down and relax, yes? So I am open to helping. Another concern point I want to bring out to our listening audience is that youth violence is a very serious public health issue. It affects childhood experiences, yes, or youthful experiences, and have impact on health and well-being. And if it have impact on health and well-being, if there's no health and you as a person is not physically all right, that means your productivity line would be affected, not just to your country, but to humanity, to your own families. Now you have to depend on somebody. Instead of you're contributing towards your family. Now this family, who already in crisis, have to also care for you, because why? You stupidly went into violence, lose one of your limb, and now they have to care for you. So it's a cost. It's not just dollars, but it costs the family some youthful, our youthful population. I mean, we cannot go down that road.
And not only the family, the economy, because when you reach at that working age, you're supposed to be adding to the workforce and being productive to produce. But right now, other people have to produce to take care of you.
Now listen to a study from the Institute of Economics and Peace. They say worldwide, violence costs the entire world $14 trillion a year.
Wow.
America alone bill is about, it's the highest, it's the biggest. And per person, the study says is $1,853 per person.
Right.
Alive, the cost of violence. So when you look at this, Duper, it's huge.
Definitely.
It's huge. And Grenada already is struggling in terms we don't have a lot of resources as
bigger countries,
more
developed countries, yes.
And if violence is going to cost us that much, then a lot have to go to this than go towards development of our young people and the economy. Yes?
Exactly.
And some of the programs that should have been in place to better the lives of our people have to be spent on that, and we definitely will be in a worse of place later on in life.
Definitely.
And so I'm appealing to the community, to parents, do the best you can. Seek help for your children so that they too, later on in life, can come back and contribute something towards society and to the family.
All right. Thank you very much. It's so much spirited, and I always enjoy, your presence. You got so much to offer,
Exactly.
and it's
That is
always
so
great to have you, Inspector Nelson. But one other thing too, we really need to because we need to at least give listeners some hope, because sometimes people a lot of times we talk of the doom, and there is so much bad things happening and so on. But what are we doing, right? We said what the community can do, and I know the police, have been doing their part, right? And the community may not want to know, well, what the police doing, for that, to deal with this problem and so on, right? Maybe I can go by Ms. Mitchell, and then I'll go to Inspector Nelson. Ms. Mitchell, from where you sit, what you can tell us that the RGPF have been doing, to really combat this problem among our young people?
Well, from time to time, the police are going to schools to speak with the children on domestic violence and youth violence. We are having a community walkthrough to encourage persons as to why we are there and what assistance we need from them. And we are doing numerous things. So at this point, I know that our inspector who is here, I would like to give him that place.
So in addition to what Ms.
yes.
Mitchell said, Inspector, anything else that you're aware of that we are doing? Because even the few things she mentioned, if we go to look into the extent of it, so you don't necessarily have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a whole lot of things, but the extent of the 1, 2 could be very impactful. But so is there any other thing that you may be aware that we do?
As an organization, Dupree, we are not perfect, and we are trying our best. And the commissioner's instruction and way forward for the force is community policing. To attack or to deal with any instances of violence out there, the police cannot do it alone. So our plans and program is geared to forge relationship, to help the community to take care of their problems. Because sometimes we are not living in that community where the violence is. So we are tasked with the responsibility to go in, forge relationship, look at the issues, and help the community to take care of their problems. And so we work together to see if we could alleviate or decrease in some of the instances of violence. And it's important that we forge relationship. Now, violence would happen in the community. We are not there. And we depend now, based on the report, we depend now on the community because it involves a victim, it involves the accused, the offender, and it involves witnesses. And if you have no witness, sometimes you cannot stop or deal with the instances of violence as you would. So we need everyone on board. Dupree, it hurt me recently when I look at the young people who would have gone to the great beyond because of violence. And when you look at the issues that cause it, nothing. Yeah? And those things could be avoided if only we intervene early. We cannot save everyone. The reality is that some people will just behave the way they do. Yes? Irrespective of what you would inject into them, discipline and what have you. They would just have their way. However, we cannot, because of that, we cannot stop. We cannot say that we're not helping. So we need everyone on board to help our young people.
Exactly.
And what is frightening, some of our elderly folks are now involved, or mature adults are now involved in this childish behavior.
Exactly.
And so what you have, very little among our male folks that the young persons can look upon.
That's low.
And so if I'm behaving that way and the young people behaving that way, then who they look at?
Exactly.
And so it's a collaborative effort to deal with this. Despite our programs, it cannot happen without the community.
And I just want to sort of elaborate on what the police have been doing. One of the programs that we have is School Liaison Officer program, and myself and Ms. Mitchell in Community Relations Department have been on the forefront of that. And it's not just the police going to the schools, because we have a very much close bond with the school. We, in some instances, in some school, we kind of consider ourselves like we're part of the school family, right? And our role in the school is not to respond to any incident of violence or other incidents at the school, not merely to respond, but really to form that bond in the school, that relationship, to bridge that gap between, to assist the school. So by now, most of the school we go to, most of the students know us. So even if they see us with our uniform, they know Corporal Dupree, they know Ms. Mitchell, or any of the other officers in that school. And we work with them, we talk to them wherever the school may have an issue or they might have some challenge that is kind of overwhelm them and they need the police, they call us and we assist whatever we can. We have dialogue, discussions with young persons to encourage them to find ways or to commit themselves to doing things that could really help them so that they can meet their fullest potential. And this is what we get to do. I think that this initiative is very important. We need to continue dealing with it because I have seen success from those initiatives myself. I can tell you there are young persons who I've been speaking to. I've been working in community relations for most of my career, over 17 years. And there are a lot of young people I spoke to have impacted. And sometimes now I see them and they call me out and I don't remember them and they remind me. And I always feel so humbled when someone could say, Corporal Dupree, I remember you, 10, 15 years ago and you've been talking to me and thanks, I meet some child parents and they told me, well, that child was this and because of that. And I know other officers who can say the same. And not only in school, even in our community. So we're doing. The police have been doing a lot to deal with these problems, right? But I also believe that it's anything else, whether it's traffic or drugs or whatever, and I always say that we cannot be as successful as we like to be successful if we do not have the support of the community, right? Nothing in our community we cannot achieve by ourselves. So we need the community, we need the family, we need the community, we need the school, we need our other social partners to partner with us. Not just talking and say we are here for that and we're doing that and it's more lip talk than action. I don't believe in big talk. Right? That's why I say anything I see, be more to it. If I come and say something about I'm on the radio station today, it's because I'm already doing it. I intend to do more to help it. So I don't want to, we need to stop about this saying what we believe we want people to hear, right? And we need to act, right?
Yes.
So I know we're coming down to the end of our program this morning, but it's so much and it's been so short, right? So I just want to ask first Ms. Mitchell and then Inspector Nelson to round up and, give your closing remarks.
One of the things, Corporal, before we close, what concerns me, here we are speaking of our young people and youth violence, but I am amazed by the things that I see every day, especially when I took the buses to come to work, the music that is being played on the buses and the way the school children gets on, even as a police officer in uniform, they don't respect it. And you will speak to the driver concerning the music, and it seems as though we are having an issue here because seems like they do not want to adhere because the children like what they are hearing, and it is very, it's not something that I would like to repeat because for the young minds and where they are heading, it calls for concern.
That's why I say it takes everybody, even the bus drivers, they need to know that this music influences these children and play something more appropriate to everybody. So I don't want to take much time, Inspector Nelson, and wrap up there.
I want to end on the whole issue of money, Dupree. You realize our young people want everything now. Now they have gadgets in their home, they would sell it, they would steal something, they would sell it just to get money. They will get involved in acts of violence because of money. Yes? I want to just leave an advice to parents and to most of our young people at home. So I want to give it to the adults so that you can give it to your children. If I ask you, Dupree, to spell cash, how you spell cash?
Yeah, CSH.
Okay, yes, CASH, yes, and
Yes.
rightly so. But I have a different spelling. My spelling for cash is KASH. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Parents, encourage your children to acquire much knowledge as possible.
Alright.
Get hold of knowledge. K. With that, with the right attitude, because your attitude determines a lot. Yes?
Alright.
With the right attitude, then you just encourage them to develop a little skill. Yes? And also with the right habits. So at the end of the term at school, they have knowledge, they have the right attitude, they have a skill, with the habits, they have all it takes to make CASH.
Alright.
Yes? And so getting involved in acts of violence and all this nonsense that we're talking about now, they don't need to go to that because they have what it takes
Alright.
to make a living.
Okay, so it's been very inspiring this morning. I'm really, really sorry that we couldn't stay to do more. I think this program should have a part 2. I know that our colleague from Grenville have been, have spoken on the same issue, but we try to take it from a different direction this morning. And we cannot speak too much about this. We have to continue to encourage. We have to continue to support our young persons. Right, so it's been a great pleasure being here this morning. I want to wish everyone all the best and take care. And I'm out.
They say the business bad. There are other people's business that worse. They complaining things are hard. Other people who are harder than hard. Oh, how I wish people's life would just switch around from poor to being rich and rich to being poor. Cause most of them never know how life stinks down below. They never take time up to see how it feels to be on the breadline, Lord. If I could, I want to help somebody. I don't want need help for myself, but Lord, that's my request. Help me to help somebody. I want to help the poor and the needy. I want to protect the weak from the strong. Lord, oh Lord, I want to help somebody. I cannot afford to be selfish, Lord. That's my request. Please help me to help somebody. The rich man never look back. On the door to his heart there is a padlock. With Mr. Green in front the door, making sure there is no entrance for the poor. If I were rich, I would have done lots of nice things. The hurricanes we had, I would fix for people's yard. These are the people who need the most attention. I never take a rest until I know that they find some happiness, Lord. If I could, I want to help somebody. I cannot let my people perish, Lord. That's my request. Help me to help somebody. It's not easy when you ain't got that money. You have no way to sleep and you got nothing to eat. Lord, oh Lord, I want to help somebody. I cannot afford to be liquid, Lord. That's my request. Please help me to help somebody. Poor people are vulnerable. Most of us have been used and abused. To survive and stay alive, we have to face now torture and scorn. If only rich people would get a taste of poverty, then they will see the reason for charity. Cause the cry of the poor is not only words, no action. You look up on his face, you will see poverty has gotten the best of it all. If I could, I want to help somebody. I cannot afford to be selfish, Lord. That's my request. Help me to help somebody. When I see so many people struggling, they don't know when and where.
Triple N. Informative, entertaining, and first. Every hour on the hour.
This is the latest news update produced by Triple N. Details when we get back.
Darling, would you like some tea? I've made your favorite.
Well, thank you, darling. I'm here finishing my blog post to help homeowners understand their electricity bills. The left side of your bill shows the rates for electricity and the government charges. The middle portion shows the number of units you've consumed, plus the history of your usage over the last 8 months. And the right side shows how much you're being charged.
I really think people are going to value this information.
Grenada, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. Locally, Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele encourages continued health practices post-COVID-19. In the region, in Trinidad and Tobago, House of Assembly Chief Secretary believes now is not the appropriate time for fuel hike. Here are the details.
Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Fali Augustine believes now is not the appropriate time for the removal of the fuel subsidy in Trinidad and Tobago. At Wednesday's THA Post-Executive Council media briefing, the Chief Secretary gave his views.
I understand why the government wants to get to that direction. I understand that there are cash flow issues, and it's happening all around the board, not just at the central government and the THA, it's all around that it's happening. So I understand why economists will say, let's head in that direction. But now it's just not the best of time for such an arrangement.
Mr. Augustine said that there are other factors to be considered, including the quality of roads across the country, the high cost and amount of taxes on vehicles. With an increase in taxi fare on the island, Chief Secretary Augustine said he predicts further changes as a result of increases in fuel prices.
With the PTSC bus, it's still $8 to Speyside and Charlottesville. It is more than double that to Charlottesville with one of the private taxis or maxi taxis. And so I could see that increasing further, and in the absence of efficient public transportation, it's difficult to fully rationalize the full removal of the subsidies.
Around the globe, U.S. President Joe Biden will travel to Europe next week for face-to-face talks with European leaders about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Biden will meet NATO and European leaders at a summit in Brussels on March 24th. He will also attend a scheduled European Union summit the same day for discussions on further sanctions on Russia and humanitarian efforts for Ukraine. We get more in this report.
With calls for a no-fly zone over Ukraine intensifying, the White House announced U.S. President Joe Biden will head to Brussels next week to attend a special NATO meeting over Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
His goal is to meet in person, face-to-face, with his European counterparts and talk about and assess where we are at this point in the conflict.
The White House would not say whether that trip will include any visits to the Ukrainian border or meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has been pushing for a no-fly zone over his country. NATO allies, including the U.S., oppose a no-fly zone, as it would put NATO and Russian planes in direct conflict and potentially lead to nuclear war. Still, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is meeting with NATO defense ministers for a 2-day gathering at the alliance headquarters in Brussels. Earlier in the day, Zelensky addressed the Canadian Parliament and made his case.
Close the airspace. Please stop the bombing. How many more cruise missiles have to fall on our cities until you make this happen?
The U.S. continues to send more help. On Tuesday, the U.S. president signed a spending bill that included $13.6 billion for Ukrainian security and humanitarian assistance.
We're moving urgently to further augment the support to the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their country. we're also going to be better positioned to provide for the rapidly growing humanitarian needs of the Ukrainian people.
The money provides aid for Ukrainian refugees in Ukraine and in neighboring nations. It also gives Ukraine military equipment and training. The Ukrainian president will make his case for a no-fly zone when, on Wednesday, he addresses a joint session of the U.S. Congress.
And in sports, Villarreal scored 3 late goals to move into the Champions League quarter-final as Juventus went out in the last 16 for a third successive year. This ends the latest update of news. Thank you for listening.
Triple N. Informative, entertaining, and first. Every hour on the hour.
Seen a black A against the white side screen, and of course the batsmen wouldn't want any of that shown. They want to make sure that they have a good sighting of the ball on delivery, and so they'll have to make sure they get rid of that, and they're actually moving that side screen away, because behind it it's another side screen, a big white wall, as we see the side screen being moved away a few meters to the right. So hopefully they'll sort that out, and we can use the one that is inbuilt in the stadium here at the Joel Garner end of the Kensington Oval. But some delays this morning, Barry Wilkinson, and nothing to do with the field of play.
Yeah, it happens. I don't know how meaningful this stat is, but Joe Root is the second batsman to be unbeaten on 119 against the West Indies overnight. The other was Sunil Gavaskar in Delhi in 1979, and he only added 1 run the next day. If that will happen today, I don't know. Probably not. But I want to thank Gary Morgan, our statistician, for that. He's always on top of stats. We are ready to play now, finally. The sight screen is ready, and so too is Jaden Seals as he comes in now and bowls to Joe Root. And this delivery is wide of the off stump, taken just in front of almost second slip. And there is, of course, no signal there by the umpire. Would have been a wide in a one-day match. No such for this Test cricket game. The pitch, to me, they've rolled it a lot. In fact, all morning long they were rolling that pitch. It was at least rolled for at least 45 minutes to an hour. I saw you out there, Sammy. How much of a difference is that going to make to the surface today?
I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, to be quite honest. It seems as though the ball isn't coming through as quickly as the batsman would have liked. Certainly as not as quickly as the fast bowlers would like.
Seals bowls to Root, who gets the delivery. That's not as wide as the previous one, but still just wide of the off stump. Root not tempted at all, lets it go by, and taken there by keeper Joshua De Silva. Root had 2 very fortunate let-offs yesterday. He was out caught on 23, no one reviewed it, and then he was dropped on 34.
Joshua De Silva down the leg side. That was a difficult opportunity, one that he should have taken nonetheless. And also there were a couple of run-out opportunities that went a begging as well. John Campbell, the guilty party on those occasions. So a couple of opportunities, a few opportunities for West Indies. This one outside the line of the off stump. Good line, good length. Well left once again by Joe Root. Goes through to wicketkeeper De Silva. No run. And you were asking about that increase in tempo yesterday, and when Dan Lawrence came to the crease and his positivity really was looking to score. You mentioned that first session just the 47 runs, and then after lunch 89, and then finally in the third session 108. So they got progressively quicker throughout the day yesterday.
Here comes Seals with his third ball. Passes umpire Joe Wilson and bowls to Root. He's on the front foot and pushes the ball square into the offside. He's going to dash off for a single, so that's the 1 run that Sunil Gavaskar got. Let's see if he's going to add to his 120. It's 2:45 for 3 now. And over at number 91, Ben Stokes has just faced the ball. It was a very wide one that he faced from Jason Hollis. He's going to get an opportunity. He batted so long this morning. He almost batted for an hour in the training session this morning. Looked very intense. He looked really well set as he was warming up. I'm a bit surprised, Sammy, that they haven't chose to perhaps have a short leg for Ben Stokes. Or is it the pitch? Just 3 slips in a gully.
Yeah, not much in it in terms of that short ball, but what you will get from Ben Stokes, if he spends any length of time out in the middle, he will score quickly. He will score rapidly. And so the West Indies will obviously want to get him out quickly, but if they can't, they'll want to make sure that he isn't scoring.
Seals bowls to Stokes, who's defending the first ball, and plays it out to the mid-on area, and there's no run. So, Big Ben, very critical man in this Test series. He was 2019 also very critical in how the English side were able to rebound after losing those first two tests in Antigua and then here in Barbados. Or rather, Barbados and Antigua, and then they lost in St. Lucia, the West Indies, back in 2019. Here he comes now, and steams in, passes the umpire, and bowls to Stokes, and Stokes this time is defending, again, squaring the offside, just getting his sight in. The over ends. It's 2:45 for 3, Root 120, and Stokes set to score.
Yeah, and what a productive period it has been for Joe Root, the England captain, over 1,700 runs in 2021. Started off 2021 with a bang, a couple double hundreds against Sri Lanka and India, and in 2022 he's already started this particular series with 2 consecutive hundreds. Yes, he's played a couple games in the Ashes that he didn't score the kind of runs that he wanted, but looking through the centurions for England within the last year, Joe Root has 8 centuries. Bairstow has 2, of course, 1 in the Ashes and 1 in that first test. And Burns has 1, and Zach Crawley has the other in that first test. So in this period of productivity, really a purple patch for Joe Root.
Going to be Jason Holder now, and bowls to Root, and Root gets the delivery from Holder that's outside the line of the off stump, and he's forcing it off the back foot and plays it out to the cover point area for a single. So Root looking again to be very positive. 121, 246 for 3. We're only into the second day of this test match, and it's gone true to form, but at 47 for 1 yesterday at lunch, I know many people would have been very cynical as to what could have been the outcome of the day's play. Dan Lawrence certainly turned this match on its head with some very positive batting. So we've got 3 slips in the gully, we've got a backward point in the cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and a fine leg as Holder bowls to Stokes, who's on the front foot, pushes the ball to the cover area, and there is no run.
And Joe Root has made that decision to bat in that critical number 3 position. England have lost wickets quite early in Test match cricket in the recent past, and he's decided to take the mantle of responsibility to go in that number so that he can stem the flow of wickets and also build partnerships with the opening batsman and the other batsmen to come. And so far, as Steve Harmison was mentioning, he's able to pull Zach Crawley to a century in that first test and almost pull Dan Lawrence to a century in this Test match.
This delivery is just on the line of the off stump, pushes it out there to the cover area, and there's still no run for Ben Stokes.
Just because of his presence out in the middle and his experience and the younger players batting around someone like Joe Root, it really pulls them along with him, and that is really pleasing to see from an England standpoint. Joe Root taking the responsibility to go at number 3 and not only scoring runs for himself but helping the younger ones around him.
He comes in again and bowls to Stokes, who's coming down the crease, coming out of the crease, down the pitch, and is wrapped in the pad. There's a bit of a stifled appeal, but that was just about it. A stifled appeal, didn't go beyond that. The ball ballooned off the pad into the onside. What was Stokes trying to do there?
I think he was trying to negate any bit of swing that Jason Holder might get with this ball that's only about 8 overs old, the second new ball. So he's made that trek down the pitch, but again, he's someone who likes to score. He likes to feel the ball on the bat, and if West Indies can have a period of quiet here, just put him under pressure.
Again, this delivery on the line of the middle stump, well bowled there from Jason Holder, defended by Stokes. Seems to be having a very careful look. The weather has been playing a very cat and mouse kind of game. The sun is out 1 minute, then it's cloudy. Now it's cloudy again, but very breezy outside. It's not as humid as it was yesterday, and that little breeze might perhaps help someone like Jason Holder, who's looking to get the ball to swing.
Yeah, he tried to use whatever conditions that are available to him, especially on this placid surface. So whether it is a little bit of swing with that breeze coming from right to left.
This delivery is outside the line of the off stump, forced down to the backward point, still can't score. The over ends. 92 overs gone. And England, who won the toss and decided to bat yesterday, first 246 for 3. We've got Root.
We got the call on our way home that something was wrong. When we got here, we saw that the entire house was engulfed in flames. Just sitting there and looking at you, basically a whole life investment going up in flames. It did take a toll on us as a family. Once we decided to rebuild, the thought came up to use the Housing Authority of Grenada. After they sent in their quotation, which we thought was very, very reasonable, we decided to go with Housing Authority of Grenada. They were very helpful. They visited the site weekly. The staff was very professional. The contractor was very professional. They delivered our house on time. The quality of work was amazing. And as you can see today, we are not disappointed. I would definitely recommend Housing Authority of Grenada for all your construction needs. With their affordable costs, high level of customer service, guidance, and building expertise, they will help you as they help us.
From the Joe Garner end as he runs and passes umpire Joe Wilson and bowls to Root, and Root gets extremely wide delivery again, just wide of the off stump and taken by the keeper. A couple of drop chances. We spoke about the one with De Silva, but there was also one from Alzari Joseph who put one down at slip. What was he doing at slip feeling there off of the bowling of Seals?
Well, he's since been dispensed with. He's no longer in that slip cordon. And John Campbell, Jason Holder, first and second slip, and Shamar Brooks in a gully position. Zari Joseph has found himself at a deep fine leg. He has fielded in that area before, that slip cordon, but you're absolutely right. It's such a specialist position as Jaden Seals bowl. Another one wide outside the off stump. Joe Root goes for the cut shot, misses it completely, goes through to the wicketkeeper Joshua De Silva. No run. It's a ball that Joe Root generally scores from those wide deliveries. He usually helps it along its way down towards third man. Very much in control. This one was too wide, too short, and he played the conventional hard cut shot and he missed it. But it's a concerted effort by the West Indian fast bowlers, Jaden Seals in particular, to bowl wide from that Joel Garner end, and he has those fielders in slip waiting.
Here comes Seals and bowls through it again. This time he's cutting. We'll get a single. There's a man on the backward point boundary for Sammy Pamal. So 247 for 3. How crucial will Pamal will be today?
He'll have a role to play a little bit later on, but just back to that Alzari Joseph in slip. It's such a specialist position that oftentimes you find when someone who isn't used to fielding there, when that person goes in and a catch comes through, many times the catch is grasped because of that lack of familiarity. And for the most part in that first test match in Antigua, we didn't see Alzari Joseph too much in that region.
Seals bowls to Stokes, who's driving pleasantly straight to Craig Bradford at mid-off. Still no run.
And you can understand the frustration from someone like Jaden Seals, who toiled away for much of the first day without much success. Yes, he did get that initial wicket off Zach Crawley, but when you're bending your back and you're putting in the effort and you do create the opportunity, and a straightforward enough opportunity, you want to make sure that it's taken. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and Dan Lawrence was reproved. And finally, what proved to be the final ball of day one, he was in fact dismissed.
Seals in again to Stokes, who's looking for his first run. We'll get it now with a beautiful shot down the ground out to the long on era before. He just pushed that. Real timing, classic Ben Stokes, and it really deserved the boundary.
That one was drilled back past the bowler, powerfully hit by Ben Stokes, full on the line of leg stump, high elbows, full face of the bat, and had 4 written all over it. Magnificent shot from Ben Stokes. His first runs, his first boundary. Like I was saying, once he spends any length of time out in the middle, he's going to score runs, and he's going to score them quite quickly. Menacing signs for the West Indies.
How will Seals respond? Here he comes in now and bowls to Stokes, and Stokes gets the delivery outside the line, the off stump, and lets it go by to be taken quite low down there by the keeper. The over ends with England 251 now for 3. Stokes has got 4 and Root's 122.
And they'll want to forge a partnership here. and really set this game up. Ideally for England, they'll be thinking of batting once if they can get to 400, 450 maybe. Still a long way away from that, but with Joe Root at the crease and Ben Stokes looking in the sort of ominous mood that he is in, and of course Johnny Bairstow, who had a century in that first test, England will be harboring those sorts of ambitions. That cool, refreshing breeze that blows across this facility, I'm sure not only the players but also the fans in would welcome that, as Jason Holder comes in once again, full delivery outside the line of the off stump. Joe Root on the front foot pushes that one and forward of point, gets the single. And Craig Brathwaite has a deep point, extra cover, mid off, mid on, and square leg as the fielders in front of the stumps. For Joe Root, Ben Stokes will be on strike now. 2 slips, a gully, backward point, extra cover, mid off, mid on, mid wicket, and a fine leg. Jason Holder from this end, from the Malcolm Marshall end, has been bowling much straighter from what we've seen from Jaden Seals from the opposite end. This one is on the line of the stumps once again. Joe Root at the non-strikers end signals that it's no run, but Ben Stokes batting out of his crease and making a step forward, just nudges that one to mid-on. He's looking purposeful out in the middle.
Yeah, he is. And like I said, I just saw that from the time he was indeed warming up this morning. He was taking quite a long net. He batted for about an hour in the nets, and then he came out and also had some throwdowns. As Holder comes around, bowls to Stokes, and Stokes gets to give him around the off stump. Plays it along the ground, just into the gully area. He looks very watchful, a bit casual if anything, as he waits for the delivery, but his timing has been pretty impeccable. So yesterday the crowd 8,252 apparently. Today I don't think is as much as yet, but it will continue to grow. Many persons came after lunch yesterday, probably just about 7,000 at the moment. As Holder turns from the Malcolm Marshall end, he passes the umpire and bowls to Stokes, and Stokes gets the delivery just on that off-stump line, getting good bounce. The bounce seems to be a bit truer today than it was yesterday. Is that just my imagination?
No, I think so. I mentioned that yesterday. As we go throughout the course of this test match, it will get progressively better in days 2 and 3, and then we'll see some deterioration on the surface. So I think that they might just be the best day for batting here in this test match, and England will want to capitalize on that. We've seen the ball going through to wicketkeeper Joshua De Silva much better than we did yesterday, as Jason Holder comes in once again. This one is on the line of the stump. Ben Stokes once again, just a half a step down the track, pushes it to mid-on, no run. But the ball is new. It's just a few overs old, so you'll expect that it will go through at a good height, but once it gets a little bit older, that's where the challenge really will be, not only for the bowling team but also for the batsmen to get value for their shots and to score freely. So at this point, both the batsmen will be looking to capitalize on that new ball, and the bowlers will be looking to use it.
Holder to Stokes, and Stokes this time is playing the ball again into that third slip area, all along the ground, no cause for concern. But the over ends, where England are 252 for 3 now, with Root 123 and Stokes on 4. As the sunshine returns to Kensington, the conditions continue to be absolutely brilliant for cricket. We spoke a lot about Lawrence's knock. How crucial was the hard work that Lees put in yesterday, because he faced 138 balls and then got a good delivery from Versami Pramod before he gave it away.
Very important knock, and many times we speak about the importance of opening batsmen and what exactly is their role. And Lees played his particular role to perfection, one of blunting the opposition attack, making sure that that ball gets a little bit older so it becomes easier for the middle order. And especially when he's partnered with someone like Zach Crawley, who's much more attacking, it allows him to play his game.
This delivery is wrapped on the pad. Is allowed appeal for LBW. Are they going to go upstairs? There was Root coming on the front foot. Was struck on the pad. There was a big appeal. The DRS timer is 5, 4, 3, 2, One. Is he got? Yes, he's just about to take it. He got it in the nick of time. So we're going to have our first review.
Yeah, lots of indecision there from the fielders, so it's never a good sign when you take that long. So much discussion whether or not to go for it. But I think they will have in the back of their minds that review that they didn't take yesterday, especially against Joe Root, who is the rock of this batting lineup.
Front foot checked.
So let's hear Gregory Brathwaite, the third umpire.
Can we move on to front on, please?
No pat involved. He was struck on the pad. This is going to be an interesting shout. But I think it's outside the line.
I'm satisfied. It's pad,
comfortably outside the line.
Pad first.
From where I'm perched, but it is pad first. Yeah, hit outside the line, impact outside the line. And as long as you're playing a shot, which Joe Root is, you cannot be given out LBW. So this decision will be upheld. Not a simple enough decision for umpire Joel Wilson, but West Indies would lose another review. And that's where that indecision came from. And I'm sure Craig Brathwaite will be considering his next options.
Here comes Seals now again and bowls to Root. Root is on the front foot. This time he gets bat onto the ball, plays it to Brathwaite, and there's no run. I remember Jeffrey Dujon saying that when it comes to review, he would never be inclined to ask the bowler what he thought, because the bowler wants a wicket. The bowler all the time is going to say yes. On that occasion, Craig Brathwaite particularly asked Jayden Seals, do you think he was outside the line? And Jayden Seals said, I'm not sure. But Craig Brathwaite went with it with 1 second or even less than that to go, because Craig Brathwaite, was not even sure himself. So it was a very, very adventurous review. Here comes Seals in again and bowls to Root, and Root this time gets one as wide of the off stump, and there's no run.
And just before that delivery, umpire Joel Wilson was having a chat with Jayden Seals, and again in his follow through, getting very close to the danger area. It wasn't an official warning, but it was just information being passed from the umpire to the bowler that yes, you're getting very close to that danger area. He did get an official warning in the first test match, so it's something that Jayden Seals will have to improve upon in terms of where he finishes upon delivery, getting in that danger area.
Here he comes again, Seals, and bowls to Root, and Root this time gets a good delivery short. He's defending it into the offside, and there's no run. I think for me, the catch that Root was out yesterday was a bit more obvious to me than the drop down the leg side in terms of really having to rue a chance, because the umpire said not out. Jason Holder felt that he was struck outside the line, but he actually hit the bat. I think they're going to rule that one the most. Flush off the bat. Here he comes again, Seals and bowls to Root, and Root gets a delivery on the line in the middle stump, defends it into the onside, and there's no run.
But it has to be a process in terms of making that decision, and whether it is you take the wicketkeeper who has a good enough sighting, the first slip, and someone in front of the bat, not the bowler. I think I agree with Jeffrey when he said that, because all bowlers think that they've got the batsman also. I think the mid-off fielder in particular has to have a part in that decision-making process, but it has to be a process. It just can't be on the whims and fancies of the bowler or the wicketkeeper.
Here he comes again and bowls to Root, and Root this time is on the front foot and playing the ball square to the offside, out to the backward point area for one. So that's going to be a single to end the over, where Stokes is on 4, Root's on 124, and England are 253 for 3 as we hand it back to Mark Nicholas.
The Grenville Cooperative Credit Union, the credit union of Grenville, takes you where you want to be. Feel secure with the Credit Union of Grenville, taking care of all your financial needs, including savings, loans, mortgages, and sound financial advice. Serving you with branches on Jubilee Street in Grenville, Lucas Street in St. George's, and coming soon, our Grandstand sub-office. Call us on 442-8602 or visit one of our offices. With Grenville Cooperative Credit Union, your financial security is guaranteed.
Come to him a bit and weighs it up and then judges how to take it on. Root on strike now to Holder, who's been accurate this morning and bowls a full ball that Root just pushes back down the pitch without actually much footwork. It was as if Holder bowled into the middle of his bat. Looks a bit like that when a few people bowl at Joe Root at the moment. A tall, slim man, Root, with some lovely little habits and idiosyncrasies. A big smile on his face at the moment as he works on his stance and sort of rotates his hips. Not rotates, he just swings them from side to side, maybe to loosen them off, and now gets ready again for Holder, who's a very tall man. I don't know how tall, but he bowls wide of off stump, and Root leaves alone. I would have Holder at something like 6'9", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", something like that. Look it up in a second. 6'7", apparently. Funny, he looks taller. Some people... I tell you who looked huge. Alex Tudor played at the same time, or maybe a bit earlier than Chris Tremlett. He just looked a massive guy. He just looked taller than Steve Finn. I think he was almost exactly the same height. But in comes Holder again. Number 98 on his back. And he bowls a straight ball that just shapes a touch, but only in the middle of Joe Root's bat, and he knocks it down into the gully for no run. Jared's about to say something.
You're on a similar fitness plan to Chris Tremlett these days, very similar body shapes. Have you seen him of recent times, Chris Tremlett?
Yes, I have.
Bodybuilding, is that what it is?
I played in a charity match with him last summer. He is enormous.
Can he actually pick the ball up when it's down? There's muscles on muscles. It's ridiculous.
He's a huge human. Yeah, he's a gym boy. Is it called the gym junkie or something? Again, Holder bowls, and that's half volley length, and actually Root just let it come to him. Because of the late swing, beautiful batting that. Didn't get drawn into pushing hard at the ball. Always used to say about swing, play it late. And that laid out swinger was handled efficiently by Joe Root. And he would be, along with Kane Williamson, the best example of how to play the ball late, I think, in the world game today. We saw it with Virat Kohli for a while, but Virat Kohli the last couple of years hasn't been quite at his best, and naturally he's feeling for the ball in a way that he hadn't previously. Here's Holder again, and it's blocked on the back foot by Ben Stokes, and the boys are alongside me, Darren Goff and Alex Tudor. Actually, I think this is just Goffy's stint. I think Tudor's having a breather. This is a quiet over. Let's call it a quiet over. Microphone issues?
I think I've got I'm here.
You're on?
I'm on. I'm away.
Right. I don't think any producer would turn you off. Left alone outside off stump, and that's the end of that Jason Holder over with England 254 for 3.
Yeah, we love a bit of music. This is it, the Caribbean, a wonderful place to be, especially Barbados. Been there, lucky enough to be there on quite a few occasions over the years, whether it's to play cricket or whether it's just on a little family break. Fantastic place to play cricket, to watch cricket, and to enjoy a beautiful island. Love Barbados. England are loving it at the moment. 254 for 3. In good shape. Kemar Roach to bowl.
Yeah, they're conscious of the fact this is a new ball. Here's Roach. And bowls a beauty. Beats Root, actually, with both movement and bounce. At that pace and that angle, the ball doesn't have to move much. That did little more than hold its line, but it went through at chest height to Joshua Da Silva, the wicket-keeper, who's had a pretty average match. He's clearly got very good hands, a lot of natural ability. It was one of those games where he's just fumbled a few. He dropped a catch down the leg side. Sometimes the ball comes unevenly at a wicket-keeper, and it's only the wicket-keeper's skill that doesn't make that clear. Sometimes it wobbles a bit in the air after it passes the bat. Sometimes in England it wobbles so much in the air that wicket-keepers are pleased to even lay a glove on it. Here's Roach again. Root is half forward, watching the ball very closely onto the face of his bat, and then takes a step after it, which suggests that for once his balance wasn't as exact as it was pretty much the whole of his innings yesterday. Isn't it fascinating to watch Root at work, Goffy, his checks and balances on his positions and the certainty in his play?
Well, he's an experienced player now, isn't he, Mark? He knows his game inside out. He's worked hard over the years. He works hard in practice.
Roach again. Little wider and Root with a lovely big stride and a push drive that doesn't really get time, so it's easily fielded at short extra cover.
And I've been lucky enough to watch him up close, you know, Mike, over the years and watch him train. And he just goes through such a routine. He goes over to the nets originally, he watches a lot of people as his job as captain. Then he goes and works so hard on his slip fielding and close fielding around the bat and reflexes. And then he just bats and bats and bats and works so hard on his game.
Now he goes forward, and the line does him a bit. He gets a thick inside edge, from which he steals a single as Stokes scampers up the wicket. Mid-on is the substitute fielder Miles, and he was just a bit slow to react to that, I think. Probably because it came off the bat slowly off that inside edge, and he had a bit more to do than one thought. Yeah, there's no doubt that Root sets a good example. The Australian team always used to talk about Ricky Ponting's example in his work ethic and practice. And I think Root very similar to that. It would be hard for any England player not to notice what the captain puts into his game.
And on the fitness side as well, if you look how he's improved his fitness over the past two or 3 years, Joe Root, he's amazing. He goes out and has a run now. And look at Ben Stokes, another great example of someone who absolutely works his socks off in the gym.
Yeah, him and Joss Butler are staggering actually in their input. Stokes is on the back foot, pulling at a ball that really doesn't come off the pitch with any pace, and the consequence of that is he doesn't time it, and it trickles out to square leg, who's sweeping on that boundary, and so only a single for Stokes, and he rehearses the shot now. He's a tattooed man. We can see them running down his right arm, and when you see him in a vest in the morning warming up, you can see his shoulders and his back. Heavily tattooed. He presented one of the caps, didn't he, yesterday? I think the one to Saqib.
Yeah, it's Saqib Mahmood. I mean, I remember I gave Saqib Mahmood his cap in South Africa.
I do remember. Left alone at the very last minute by Root. It was wide, and he thought about cutting it, and then at the very last minute he sort of whipped his bat out of the way. And so the end of that Roach over. 2:56 for 3.
Yeah, I gave him his cap in the one day, wasn't he, in Johannesburg. I was lucky enough to work with him in New Zealand. Fantastic athlete. He's different to any other of the England bowlers. And I'm looking forward to watching him play in this test match. I think it's a pitch that is pretty flat. We've seen that. It's going to be low in bounce as the game goes on. There might be a bit of reverse, and it just might be suited to him, this pitch, especially that little bit of luck we talk about, me and Alex, when you talk about their luck as a bowler when you want to be bowling second or last on a pitch like this, where you know if it's going to deteriorate, it might deteriorate quickly. You don't want to be bowling first, as the West Indies are finding out.
Well, I'm interested to listen to you. Here's Holder, and Stokes is well forward, long stride, and then a little shuffle after the ball as he sort of is pleased with the position he got into. It goes to extra cover for no run. Is there not an alternative argument that says it's just a flat pitch and it mightn't deteriorate much at all?
Yeah, but to a lot of people, sometimes the hardest thing about being a bowler, whether you're a spin bowler or a fast bowler, is getting over that obstacle, but it's a flat pitch. It's very difficult. Some people find it very difficult to get out of their head.
Holder again, pushing those long legs hard as Stokes goes forward, and that comes off the face of the blade nicely as he's down very low in his position playing that ball. A bent front leg and head right over the ball. It goes to square cover for no run. It is a very interesting point you make, that.
It is, and I've often said, people, Alex might have heard me, and said there's no such thing. There is no such thing as a flat wicket. You bowl at the stumps, you get half a chance, right? As the game goes on, it's going to deteriorate. It's not going to be flat forever. Yes, there has been some things where I've been frustrated over the years, but you will get opportunities. The pitch will deteriorate.
Left alone outside off stump by Stokes. A bit full and wide, that one. A slightly wasted delivery from Holder. Yeah, the thing is not to waste your energy. It's to use your energy right. When you bowl on a flat pitch, for example, low bounce can be your friend if you use it right.
Well, low bounce to me is the perfect weapon, because I was quite skiddy and I'm not very tall. compared to a lot of fast bowlers out there. So as soon as it was low bounce, I felt in the game. As fast bowlers, taller bowlers, felt as though they were out of the game.
Full toss, and Stokes does something he would very rarely do. He hits it straight to mid-on. If he were playing in a one-day game and he needed 6 to win, be sure he would have hit that ball for 6.
Yeah, there's no doubt, is there? I mean, most people have actually struggled to time the ball, haven't they, on here? And there is no reason not to be able to time a ball that's a full toss right into the middle of the bat.
Well, I think he tries so hard to stay in now at the beginning of his innings that
he's not looking
the muscles,
for it, yeah.
That's right, the shoulders and the hands aren't quite loose. Now he looks to drive and the face shuts, and he does steal a single by running hard, and mid-on moves to his left and fumbles it anyway, so it was a comfortable enough single. 1, 2, 6 for Joe Root, 6 for Ben Stokes, 257 for 3 as England consolidate after the loss of Dan Lawrence last night to what was the last ball of the day. It would actually have been the penultimate ball. Such a blow for Dan Lawrence not to be able to get the 100 that his super innings yesterday deserved. Such is the cruelty of this game. Holder again into Joe Root, stands very tall, waits for it, and he, as so often with Root, plays it so late it runs out into the gully for no run, so just a single from that holder over. 257 for 3, and the game here, Goffey, it's like the two sides are jousting with each other. Neither wants to lose this session.
Well, they don't want to get out, do they? They know there's a big score on the board here. Ben Stokes had just come to the crease. It's fascinating, his interview actually before the first test, when he talks about he took some responsibility for the winter's performances in Australia. He wants to up his game. He wants to bowl more overs. He was surprised by the criticism he got for bowling overs in that last test match, and he wants to get runs, and so he's determined to get in. Because normally when you see Ben Stokes, he is amazing to watch. He goes two ways. He comes in firing straight away, or when he thinks he needs a score, he just watches the ball right onto the bat, he gets himself in, and then he turns into third gear. He goes from first to third gear, doesn't he? Amazing.
Doesn't he ever? But you know what, he doesn't come in firing much now.
No, that's what I mean.
Test cricket, he invariably comes in and plays quietly to get himself in. Roach round the wicket at Stokes, who thrashes that through point. What a wonderful stroke. A square cut of violence.
Absolutely wonderful stroke, and that's when we're talking about the difference. When you do get that wide delivery, it's a scoring opportunity, you take it, and that's the difference in experience and confidence. Roach to Stokes, a little bit of width, and he just plays a wonderful shot through backward point. Now, if that was Alex Lees, that would have been a Lees through to the keeper. It would have looked good, looked a decent delivery, but it got what it deserved. A wonderful, wonderful shot from Ben Stokes.
Roach again from round the wicket, left alone. It's Fuller, and no attempt to play it by Ben Stokes. A reminder, of course, well, you don't need reminding, but there's a lot of other things going on in the world, less gentle and enjoyable than cricket. And you can head to Times Radio for the latest from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, including John Pienaar broadcasting live from the Ukraine-Poland border each day from 4 p.m. John, a master of his broadcasting art, of course. Times Radio is available on your DAB radio smart speaker, or you can download the app as that hits Stokes on the thigh pad. He actually just came at Roach a bit there, a little shuffle at the crease, and he does that to the quicks a bit, trying to get nearer to the ball and upset their length, and that hit him on the thigh pad and rebounded out to point. Yes, Times Radio, available on your DAB radio smart speaker. Or, as I say, you can download the app.
Or you can stick to the cricket and listen to me and Mark. Talking about two wonderful cricketers, Ben Stokes and Joe Root. Two greats of our great game.
Yep. Agreed. And now he drives through extra cover, throws his bat at the ball, and it whistles past extra cover. Fabulous front foot batting to go with the back foot batting a couple of balls ago.
Well, there we go again. Slightly over pitch from Roach round the wicket, trying to get him caught in that slip cordon, but it's an half volley. Oh, look at that. What a wonderful strike. Head over the ball, right to the pitch of it. Great flow of the cricket bat, and he loved it.
And now he plays defensively from the crease. It goes back to Roach, who decides not to pick it up. Lets it roll to mid-off. On the shirts of the England players is the name of their sponsor, and it says Cinch. And the way those two balls were struck by Stokes, it does look as if